What up, is Marcus with Dynasty Dads. We're going to be talking about Dameon Pierce and other running backs and some of the results from a Dynasty rookie couple drafts that I've had with some of my longest membered, leagues, you could say. So these were 16-team leagues, a little different than 12-team leagues. We like to have the big leagues. If you're new to the channel, again, we got DeAndre Swift signed jersey. All you have to do is subscribe for free, and we'll give that away to one of the subscribers. I'm going to, again, talk about where some of these running backs went. A 16-team league, a little bit more desperate when it comes to running backs. Of course, if you have an average running back, you're having an RB 8 and 24. So, I mean, you're really wanting some of these running backs. And the first thing I want to talk about is Dameon Pierce, because Dameon Pierce hype has gone into overload. I agree. He looks great in preseason. Who also looked great in preseason? Mike Boone of Denver. I mean, he looked like he was cutting well and doing well, and he's a third-string running back. There are some players that look really good against second-teamers, third-teamers, and we just have to understand that these are second-teamers and third-teamers, that they are guys that look great in the preseason that do not perform in the regular season. I always have to say, like, look at Tutu Atwell, look at some of these other players. We have to look at the talent and the draft capital as part of the equation. And analytically, Dameon Pierce does not fit very well in the NFL the system. I mean, he's low on speed. He's 4.59. I mean, usually you want a guy that's at least 4.55 or a little bit better. His receiving ability, I mean, he's less than 5% in his receiving target share. He was not an early declare. He has poor draft capital, 4.02. So that's poor draft capital. I mean, look at Michael Carter, look at other running backs, even like the Pierre Strongs, and like look at all these other fourth-round running backs. Even in the past, the fourth round is a huge cutoff, huge gap down. And now let's also look at his ability at Florida. I know that Florida's a little weird. Sometimes they have different, like even Kadarius Toney didn't seem to ball out as much as he did in Florida. I mean, the only person that was immune to that was Kyle Pitts, who's a monster. So really, if you look at everything Dameon Pierce-wise, everything says stay away from. Two players that I was actually really concerned about, and I think I had lower than most analysts. It was Michael Carter and Trey Sermon, because I didn't like Trey Sermon's talent, and I didn't like his basically 2-game sample size it was amazing. Everything else was horrible. Also, I saw Michael Carter, and I said, well, I like the tape and everything like that, kind of like I like Dameon Pierce's tape, but then I look at it analytically, and I look at draft capital, and what do NFL teams do to the 4th round, or 5th round, 6th round running backs? Look at Elijah Mitchell, look at James Robinson, look at Michael Carter. They draft another running back very soon. We have a 2023 draft class that is absolutely amazing. It seems like if it stays that way, you're going to have 8 to 10 running backs that are probably going to be drafted in the first three-ish rounds that you're going to have potentially be a threat to Dameon Pierce and any of these other running backs as well. So that's just a big, huge warning for any of you. Isaiah Spiller, Rashad White, Brian Robinson. Sorry they got shot. Any of these running backs, these are big concerns that they are going to end up being moved down the depth chart. And so Dameon Pierce went 4th in both of the Dynasty leagues. 4th. In fact, one team traded 4th, which the team at 1 wanted to move back to 4 to get Dameon Pierce. 4th and a 2nd rounder and a 3rd round pick to move up to 1. So Breece Hall equaled Dameon Pierce a 2nd and a 3rd. I really wish I had 4 at that point. I did not. Honestly, I had 2 later picks, and I wanted to get up into that area, because I was like, man, if I could use 2 firsts and even draft capital in 2023 to get Breece Hall, I would totally do it. But I think he thought that Dameon Pierce wasn't going to fall that much. And so Dameon Pierce gets drafted 4th in both. James Cook was the next running back in both leagues, so he was running back 4. I mean, Kenneth Walker, he was a top 3 pick, and Breece Hall was 101 in both. So nothing to be note home about. I mean, that's what you're going to have happen. I think Drake London was 2 and 1, and then I think Drake London was 3 in the other one. So it was just a little flip flop. James Cook was the 4th running back taken behind Dameon Pierce, which honestly, if you told me who do I get to pick in Dynasty, I'm taking James Cook slightly over Dameon. I'm taking over Dameon Pierce. Look at the draft capital. I understand that you're going to have a receiving back versus a potential chance at a more strong 3-down back for a year. But James Cook, with that draft capital and stuff, and his ability in the receiving game, I think he can carve himself out a role for 4 or 5 years in the Buffalo offense, a very, very good offense as well, too. That they desperately wanted a J.D. McKissic type, a receiving back in that offense, and so that's why they got James Cook in the 2nd round. Another couple of running backs. Really, there was a jumbled mess between what it seemed like 11 and like 18. And it was Tyler Algier, it was Rashad White, it was Brian Robinson, I'm trying to think if there's anybody else in that. Isaiah Spiller. So there was 4 or 5 running backs into that mess, and it's what these guys. It's the teams that are passing over Christian Watson, Sky Moore, Treylon Burks. They're passing over some of these wide receivers that I much rather have versus this running back flyer. Because if you get a running back in the 4th, 5th, 6th round, that's the next Elijah Mitchell. That is what they are thinking. That's what owners are thinking. Like, hey, I desperately need that, and so use this for your draft, dynasty draft startup too. I think that I would easily rather have the wide receivers. In fact, I'm a running back needy team in one league, and I had picks 9 and 14, and at 9, you could never guess who I got. I don't understand it. I think maybe it's because of the Zach Wilson injury. It was Garrett Wilson. I got at 9. I was just shocked. The receivers ahead of him were Drake London. Chris Olave was always the second receiver off the board. I don't get the Chris Olave hype. Again, you're talking about a guy that has great separation, but no yards after catch. So that's incredibly, I think, a very safe pick, but a pick that he's never going to be a top 12 wide receiver, in my opinion. I think he's going to be stuck around 20. Wide receiver 20 is fine, but it's not worth that high of a pick. And then Jameson Williams was way up there as well, over Garrett Wilson. I think people are just seeing that amazing upside, and he's the super risky pick, which I'd rather have Jameson Williams than Chris Olave anyways. So I got Garrett Wilson at 9. In the other league, Garrett Wilson went at 10. I just don't understand the drop-off here. If you're a Garrett Wilson, if you're somebody that I would totally. I was trying to actually trade up, and Garrett Wilson just kept falling, and then all of a sudden he got to me, and I was like, oh, I was so happy. So I mean, you got to take talent, and Garrett Wilson is arguably the first or second most talented wide receiver. He's in tier 1. Let's just say you got the London, you got Burks, and you got Garrett Wilson. It's those 3, and then you have the riskiness of like a Pickens or a Jameson Williams, and Pickens went earlier too. Then I forgot he went right before. He went right before Garrett Wilson, and I wasn't going to pick George Pickens because after that, the fall and the slide of Treylon Burks is for real. I mean, the end, he went 13th, and then in the other league, he went 12th. I mean, Treylon Burks, the fall is real, and I'm totally snatching him up. At 12, 13, or even at like 8, that's a perfect spot to hit Treylon Burks. At 3, that's danger. At 4, that's very big and danger. Like, that's very risky. But to have him fall that much, oh man, that was just, I got snagged. A team came up and traded right in front of me, and I was like, man, I'm getting Garrett Wilson and Treylon Burks, woo! And then I didn't get him. I ended up getting Christian Watson. So, but hey, oh well. I mean, I'm taking wide receivers because I'm okay with taking a wide receiver and then trading for a running back that I think is going to be a more stable running back than a 4th, 5th rounder in Tyler Algier or Isaiah Spiller or Brian Robinson, who's a 3rd rounder. It's just like I would rather have that safe wide receiver, a round 1 wide receiver, or a round 2 wide receiver with some super high upside, a la George Pickens. Like, it just doesn't, or Christian Watson, or even Sky Moore. It's like I would rather have these players, and so my biggest thing I want to tell you guys in Dynasty, whether it's rookie drafts or startup, take the talent. Take the talent. So many people are like, opportunity. I'm like, hey, opportunity changes so quickly from a year-to-year basis. Dynasty is a long-term game. If you play within a 12-month set of gaps, you're going to be a very risky and probably very volatile owner where you're going to be doing really good, and then it's like, the next week you're doing bad, or one year you're doing great, and then it's all of a sudden you pick a bunch of flyers that end up failing. It's like, I would rather continuously be good, and I'm always taking talent over opportunity. I've made enough mistakes in my past of even looking even at the CEH versus Jonathan Taylor, the CEH of the talent, or the opportunity versus Jonathan Taylor, the talent, and it's happened before. I've learned from my mistakes, and that is I was way overemphasizing opportunity and then realizing that opportunity constantly changes. You can have a wide receiver. Tennessee looked great. And then all of a sudden, A.J. Brown leaves. And then all of a sudden, you have Julio Jones is gone, which Julio Jones is not as big of a gap. But it's like Tennessee's looking horrible. And then all of a sudden, boom, they got Treylon Burks. And then you look at the Eagles, horrible situation. And they got Devontae Smith, and they got A.J. Brown. It's like situations constantly are in flux. And so talent trumps opportunity. Stop picking the opportunity. Stop picking Dameon Pierce 4th overall. It doesn't make sense. If you want to take him 8th, 9th, 10th, whatever, like I will not understand it fully, but like I can see where your method of thinking is in the next 8-9 months. You're hoping to sell on the high road up there. But again, I just had to get that off my chest here. Happy Monday, everybody. We will see you again tomorrow.